Well, Robin Parks, thank you for joining MolksTVTalk.
Thanks, Steve.
Robin, Freeview has undergone some fairly significant changes as a business just in this last short while. I mean, last night we saw the launch of the new campaign that I think from memory got about 4.3 million eyes.
Yeah, 4.3 metro, and actually when you include the regional, we're up to nearly 6.3 million, so it was an amazing feat to have that many people watching at exactly the same time, which was great.
And a great reflection on the fact that we are a television watching nation, that we're interested in what's on free-to-air, that we have the option of we can go to a pay TV service, but it's far, far more compelling these days.
Absolutely.
That we have 16, I think at last count.
16,
16 channels, and you're able to get a lot of the talent across those channels into that campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Freeview's only been going for 3 years, and when we started, and our first campaign came out and said we were going to have all these multi-channels, there was a lot of scepticism and and cynics, and fair enough. Digital TV had been around for a long time before Freeview launched, and then Freeview launched, and quite quickly we went from 5 channels and grew steadily in the next year to 16, which is where we're at now. And it's great quality channels, which is the other part of the scepticism, I guess. We initially had, were we going to have time shifting, was it all repeats? And so we've got these 16 great channels with some fabulous talent. And the culmination of that was, the ad you saw last night with everybody coming together, showing that they work together to support the platform, which was a lot of fun.
Look, and we're in a really interesting situation. We talked just before the interview about how in the space of a generation, we've gone from no television, black and white, colour, a couple of channels if you're lucky, to the 5 major running networked around the country. And now here we are with those networks, with digital multi-channels, with them able to develop and grow talent on the primary channel, and we're now starting to see them grow and develop that, particularly for networks like the ABC, on their digital multi-channels,
Look, it's a major change, as we said. Colour was a magnificent change, and you all crowded around the TV together and oohed and ahed about this amazing thing. And I think multi-channel has crept up on everybody. The people knew it was coming, but then, it wasn't one day when it was a big bang. It's come kind of over time crept up. There was 1 channel, 2 channels. Now that we've got all the channels, and people are loving it. And I think people are still getting their head around, finding their favourites on so much to watch. And an event TV taking off over that same period, with things like Dancing with the Stars and MasterChef on last night. So much event TV coming through, at the same time. The love of TV has just expanded in the last few years, and people are really, re-embracing, watching it together, which is fantastic.
Well, there's lots of discussion around as far as and there will always be a market for pay TV. We've seen that recently with the new AFL deal that's just gone on. But people talking seriously about, look, I watch pay TV for these things, and I'm paying X dollars a month. But on free-to-air now, I can get either that, admittedly either late or in a different format, or do I need to watch?
That's right. There's something for everybody. The free service on Freeview is a fabulous quality service that kind of meets all your needs, unless you're very niche and you want a particular overseas sport, or you want lots of live coverage with the AFL. So, AFL you're going to get on 7, to a certain limit, and then the rest, if you're a die-hard follower, you've got the option to go to Fox 2 for the full service. Or you're a particular niche fan of something, then you've got pay TV offers that option to top you up. But for those that don't want to have the money or can't afford it, or think $100 a month's a lot these days, you don't have to have it anymore to get like a really great service, which is where Freeview is there for the masses kind of thing, which is great.
It will inevitably bring its critics, given that but I just turn on to a digital multi-channel and I'm seeing shows that I watched 20 years ago. It's not unreasonable, but
but again, what we get a lot of feedback from that is there's a new generation of followers. There's 2 prongs to that. There's people that are seeing it that saw it years ago and are like, how funny was that? We love watching it again. And then there's my children are in their 20s, and then they're like, wow, I've never seen that. That's a great cult ironic show, and I'm like, well, actually wasn't meant to be ironic, but so they're seeing it with totally new eyes and seeing it as a sarcasm kind of show, and they're loving it and getting the cult around it. And it's Twitter that helps all that sort of thing. People are finding shows with each other, and they start a discussion about it, and it becomes this almost joke offering that they love watching together. So there's a lot of following on those retro shows, which is great.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that start to sort of grow in and of itself with for example, I think it's, I'm going to get this wrong, I think it's 11 how on Thursday nights are showing Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that the first time.
Yeah.
That it was, and being quite a devoted follower.
Yeah.
And now I watch it and go, it's not the same.
No, I think we watched it as a serious offering, but now if you're seeing it for the first time, you think it's quite funny.
Oh, there's a lot of high camp value around it.
Yeah.
I know there's a very specific group of people, and are growing week by week, that will tweet along and talk about and analyse.
Absolutely.
Okay,
but I think that's the beauty of the multi-channels. And there's something for everybody. That when we only had the 5 channels, something had to really rate well to keep it slot and keep going. Now we can have things that are more niche, that can find a spot and can find a bit of a cult following, and there's spread amongst the different places. And one of the things we've found that we know people love all this is the Ultratam ratings of the repertoire of number of channels in your watching. So of our 16 channels, a Freeview only viewer will watch about 11, 10 point, I think it's like 10.7 or something channels of the 16. So that means that they're really spread across them, but it also says to us that they're premium quality channels, that you're not discounting a lot of channels. So traditionally with a pay service where you've got 150, your repertoire's still around the 17 number. So you're discounting a lot of the channels. So on Freeview, because we are getting the majority of channels are in the repertoire, you know that everyone's watching something on there, which is fantastic.
What do you make of the conversation around ratings, given that we've had this traditional 5 vertical market, the primary channels, and now we have the digital channels, and particularly with the switch off coming, people talking about the fracturing of ratings because less people are watching the primary networks and they're being moved over here and that sort of stuff, versus a consolidated figure now where instead of just looking at, as an example, this, Channel 7, we're looking at the 7 network for its rating overall for the night.
Look, I think ratings will take a while to find its feet, and we've had last year where we were comparing apples and apples and apples and oranges with the once the PVR ratings got included as well. So I think we need to let ratings find its feet for the next couple of years. But also, I think the multi-channels have had the advantage of being able to build distinctive brands. So we've seen 7 Mate, man's best friend, very. And there's lots of females watching that, we know that, but it's a channel that's developing its personality, like 11 for the youthful market. So we're having these channels quite defined in their depth of brand and their demographics and targeting, which does allow advertisers to target much more niche specific demographics. But people are watching across a range of all these sorts of things, and so while the audience fractures slightly, it fractures for the right reasons. They're following the content that they love, and it all comes back to content's king, and we've heard that phrase over and over and in every possible way, but it's the fact. It is where people go. So if MasterChef moved from Network 10, people would follow it. They're not watching it for for that. But what the brands of the channels can do is the strength of those brands means that you'll trust it. So if if you're a really strong supporter of 11, and a new offering comes out that you're not aware of, you'll have the faith to go, delivered to me by 11. It's my kind of that's my kind of channel. I'll give it a go.
What do you think then? Given that we've just started the switch off, so there are analogue broadcast areas. I think the regional Victoria has just gone off, and we're now committed to the end of 2013. By that time, it'll be all digital everywhere.
So we're rolling out. The biggest one was last week in regional Victoria. I think about 500,000 homes went over then, and then we go regional Queensland in December this year. So regional areas, and then we move into some big metro areas. But the majority of people are already watching across on I think we've got nearly 80% of people, and that's not including people that are watching digital via pay TV. So it's even higher than that when you include the pay TV numbers. So we've got most people across onto digital. The government's announced they're going to help the pensioners that haven't switched across, because we know that some of those that are sort of in the numbers of unconverted are lower socioeconomic and need the assistance. So getting switched across to digital doesn't seem to be the issue, and we've given them, that's been so successful because we've given them a reason to switch. US struggled with their digital switchover because there was no reason to make the switch, but we make the switch and you go from 5 channels to 16 depending on where you live. It gives people a reason to go and buy a set-top box and do that switch.
And that's really going to open up the digital market from a free-to-air perspective. But once that bandwidth is available, it can mean that the licensees for the networks are able to say, look, we've had this idea and we now actually want to do this kind of channel or drop this. So then instead of it just being, we're really using our full bandwidth now with our 3 or 4, as the ABC are playing it, channels.
Yeah.
We've actually got 5 or 6 that we want to have as our real full brand.
Yeah, I think at the moment they don't know what spectrum they'll get at the end of the rollout, so it's a little hard to forecast what will happen then. But yes, if more spectrum's available, they'll obviously embrace that, because the multi-channels have been so well received. So, you know, that was sort of testing the water when they first launched their secondary channel.
Yeah.
You know, and it's been so well received, they were all quick to roll out their third.
It's been an interesting story, I guess, around the launch of some of those digital multi-channels. You know, 7.2 and 7.8 have been fairly strong, and they've stayed true to what their, I guess, initial brief or launch brief was. Go and Gem, there's been some questions, but 9 have again struck to that and tweaked a little bit as they've gone, and 10 a bit the same with 11. It's been a great launch. It actually won the SteveMolk for the best promotion
I saw that.
On the weekend. Big plug. But now with 1HD, I guess doing a bit of a turn, a bit of a change from a dedicated or a primary sporting channel for the 10 network, into a bit more of a man cave, but with a lot of sports still on there.
Yeah, I think they'll always have their sports as their sort of home base and their core. But again, you know, we were launching multi-channels quite blindly into a market that we didn't know, and One was the first channel to launch, and it's been around for nearly 2 years now. So it's time to, like anything, evolve with the time. So it's not like reinventing itself. It's really just evolving, and it's embrace feedback and what great shows have become available. So sometimes content's going to drive your brand to some degree, and so there's some great content. They've got the Sons of Anarchy, which is an amazing series. So the fact that they can fit that into their one lineup, it just slightly evolves their positioning to adventure and excitement, and it's still all around adrenaline and sport. So it doesn't really change their core offering. It just slightly evolves over time.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll see all of them do that. I think if we don't, it would be stale. If we didn't see some evolution through the multi-channels as time goes on. But I don't think we'd ever go from, ABC3 saying, oh, we're not doing kids anymore, we've moved on to, we're the lifestyle channel. I think it would just be an evolution of feedback of the audience, moving with them and being, these days where feedback's so instant with viewers, and you're seeing it on Facebook and Twitter and social media, brands need to be able to continually evolving in the way that the viewers want. So I think it's a great thing that One's being responsive to that.
Do you think that with the analog switch off come the end of 2013, that the anti-siphoning list will play out more or of a lesser part at that point, when the only service that people will have will be digital? So there'll be no advantage or disadvantage over whether you watch an event on a primary channel or a digital channel?
No, I think anti-siphoning will be across the whole platform, so that you'll be able to watch sport. I think there'll always be a place for anti-siphoning to keep sport free for those that don't choose to pay for TV. But the differences between the main channel and multi-channel will become less over time.
Absolutely.
As everyone has access to that. And we saw that last week with ABC switching Play School and some of their preschool programming to their digital channel. I mean, that was a fairly, what they considered a brave step for ABC, because, they're the heartland viewers. And it went across with, minimal feedback, because most people are watching. They did a great campaign leading into that to let everyone know that the programming was moving across to the digital-only channel, and it's been well accepted.
I've got 2 young kids at home. One's just school age and going, and the other's just school next year. And they look, ABC2 becoming a kids channel, almost predominantly, was a godsend at some points. But certainly, even just that little change in the morning has been an interesting one, something that the kids love. And I mean, we enjoy watching some breakfast television as well, but they also know that, such and such, the What's or the Play School or whatever it is are on at this time, and we need to watch that now, Mum and Dad. Come on. But the thing that I found most interesting about the change happened, that was fine. Some of the branding that's happened since. My little 4-year-old girl was a little bit confused when the new ABC2 logo came up, because it says
ABC for kids.
ABC2. Because it is ABC for kids, we understand that. But we're on ABC4, Mummy. No.
There's been some feedback around that, but it's amazing the power of brands, especially for kids these days, isn't it? That they're so savvy that they recognise things like that.
No, she's across it already. We know that this is that, and she even knows the channel number, and she's only 4, but she's confident. She surprised us the other day, said, "Mummy, can we put on some kids shows?" Sure, and she walked up and grabbed the remote and just yelled back at us, "Is it, this channel?" Yes. Press the button and turn over, went over and sat down. Right, well, we've become redundant. Such that it is. What do you like to watch on television?
Oh, look, I watch a bit more than the average viewer. I probably watch 8 to 10 hours of TV a day, and I watch as a viewer. I don't watch as a as a professional person, I watch where my actual viewing goes. And out of interest the other day, I sat down and I looked at the tally of what was on my PVR, and it really is across all the channels. Even SteveMolk, which when it came out and was, a man's best friend, I was like, well, I won't watch anything on that. But, 30 Rock, things like that. I'm loving some of the shows on there. So I really watch across everything, and I love event TV. So I'm flicking between MasterChef, Dancing with the Stars, trying to keep up with everything.
It's a real interesting season for event television.
Yeah.
We've got, as you said, we've got two pretty big shows that have launched in. And conveniently, both of them Fremantle shows. They'll be very happy. But we've got the Renovators coming.
That looks amazing.
Coming. We've got all of these new programs that are lining up in the same way. We've got another season of...
And, Amazing Race Australia. That's going to be huge because, the fact that we've got such a strong franchise and then now an Australian focus is going to be, really interesting. So, look, my problem is too much to watch. Yeah. There's never a point where I go, what can I watch on TV? And then the balance is, what do I watch live and what do I watch on on delay?
That's a very legitimately tough decision.
Yeah.
I've got that problem myself, but that's because I'm a tragic. We're in an interesting position when it comes to television in Australia because we seem to have embraced this event or larger reality genre fairly well, and we've got some excellent people that work to put on these kinds of programs. Comedy seems to be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I think comedy's hard in Australia. I think our tastes, and when you look at the American shows or the English shows that work well here, I think our taste is really quite hard to appease on a comedy level. So Nine try very hard at making that work, and they've done lots of good attempts at that. But I think that's probably the hardest genre. I mean, Australian drama seems to do really well.
Absolutely.
You look at Rafters, to get 2 million people, and even a few years into the seasons, to be getting those numbers still is amazing. And Winners and Losers, launching with 1.6 or something on its first night. That shows where the appetite is, and I think that's an easier genre to appeal to a lot of tastes.
Yes.
So
we've seen the Underbelly franchise really pick up the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
Sea Patrol's in its final season.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we have a lot of great actors and a lot of great, as I said, people that make a lot of good television. Drama has become kind of taken that place for comedy, where in sort of the 80s to 90s, we had a lot of good comedians doing a lot of stuff on television. Networks were willing to take some risks. Whereas drama, it's drama's time to shine. Yeah, it is. It's drama's time to shine. And, you saw Paper Giants on ABC. Amazing. Brilliant. And for ABC to get those kind of numbers is just fantastic. So that's where the appetite is at the moment, which is great for the industry because it's Australian content, long form shows that have been produced over, periods of time. So great for our Australian film industry as well, and for the local talent, which is starting to shine. Well, comedy's not dead. Comedy's not dead at all. Yeah, but you look at My Gen, it's a different form of comedy, and that's been going great guns, and you're seeing some great talent on there, and everyone loves that show. So, it's just a different format. I think Ben Elton was a hard format for the time to make that work. Definitely. Yeah. And look, it's really easy to, I guess, sit back and go, well, this worked for this reason, and this and that. Many would say, including myself, that I'll be a TV program any day. I'll show you guys how to do it. I'm sure it's a much harder job. Yeah, absolutely. Look, that's the hardest job of all. And everyone's a critic, so no one's going to. That's the job with no thanks, really. And when things move around time slots, they don't do it for fun. They do it for a reason, and they do it because it's logistically right for a whole lot of other reasons, and they can't always keep everyone happy. So, programming is the hardest job of all of them in the network, and having to pick on what the punters are going to love. It's it's not easy. Well, there's been a lot of good buzz, and promos is where it starts to kill. We've seen, for example, the 10 Network have one of the hardest working and I would say best promo departments in the business in how they can pre-sell and build. The stuff they did with So You Think You Can Dance, with MasterChef, all of those kinds of things have always been brilliant. Channel 7 are starting to do a good lead with that as well. We've got Downton Abbey coming. That looks fantastic. And the promos for that, I mean, for what looks to be a period drama. Yeah. Well, it looks like a modern version of Upstairs Downstairs, but it's got me intrigued just by the promo. So it looks good. You mentioned we talked before about some of the generational change in television, and that in my short 40 years, so much has gone on, and here we are about to finish off or about to go through the final bits. The analog shut off. Beyond that, what do you perceive are going to be the big changes in television in 10 years?
Well, look, internet delivery TV is on our horizon. I mean, it's around, it's here now, but it won't become ubiquitous until everyone has internet into the home that's unlimited downloads, that works like electricity, that it just works. When viewers are watching TV and they won't know whether it's coming via terrestrial antenna or an internet, that's when the difference changes. But at the moment, it's too much effort to switch out, switch in, worry about your download capability, worry about your buffering speed. It's just slightly too hard right now. But when that becomes commoditised in the background, that will change everything again. I mean, no, that's only a few years away, so that changes everything. I think the speed of change we'll see over the next few years is going to be, hugely rapid compared to what we've seen in the last few years.
I'll mention the dirty H word in Hulu. It's sort of circling in Australian waters. We've got talk around the BBC's iPlayer, which the ABC's iView is modelled on, and that's a spectacular service.
Yeah, fantastic.
The iPlayer service, they're talking about making that available internationally, either for fee or otherwise. Yeah.
Look, none of those are dirty words for us. We love all that, but we're about the masses. I mean, Freeview is 14 million people a night watching TV. And the other services are all very niche for the reasons I said. The unlimited downloads and the worrying about your whole usage and the cost of the usage and the buffering. When that becomes commoditised, then that's different for us. At the moment, we all see all of those as niche services. So when they're no longer niche, that's when it's of interest for us to offer a great service in that area. And we will. Freeview will do something in that space, but we'll do it when it's right, when it's for the masses and when it's not all too hard from a viewer's perspective.
It's like the shift to larger screen plasma and LCD television, isn't it? When they first launched, looked great, expensive as all sin. They've become, well, let's say they've certainly become better. It's certainly more accessible. You can go get a decent size LCD for under $800.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they were 10 grand when they came out, and it was just crazy. And it's a bit like 3D TV.
Yeah.
There's hype around that, but at the moment, it's so little content. You have to wear the glasses. We know people don't like that because they can't multitask. So we won't be doing too much in that space. But when that becomes, don't have to wear the glasses anymore, and it's just normal, then we move into it. So I guess Freeview and that our space is about moving with the masses, not moving with the niche and the early adopters. So Hulu and the catch-ups and all the rest of it, we're definitely interested in that space. And as you said, iView is an amazing service for ABC, and all the networks have. You've got 7 Plus and Fixed TV and Channel 10 catch-up. So that's there. But it's to take it into a next stage where it's easy and in your home and part of your TV offering. That'll come, and it'll come quickly. But it really is dependent on the infrastructure to make that work.
Well, it's really good to see the networks investing in mobile delivery technology. We're seeing Sunrise and the Today Show. They're able to be live streamed with the appropriate mobile networks for free as a part of their deal. They've got apps coming out now around shows and around networks. I think of the 11 and the 10 apps, and the Sunrise app, that are really robust opportunities to connect beyond the show. It's not just about who you can.
Absolutely. Look, and SBS has done the World Game app, which is fantastic. So for fans, there's all these like vertical sites and apps, and really some in-depth interaction beyond the screen, which is fabulous. So that will happen more and more over time.
Yep, absolutely. Robin, just a couple more questions. Your time's very valuable, and I do thank you very much
at all.
for it. With the rise of the digital multi-channels, for the moment, we're not seeing a whole bunch of new programming necessarily, although it is starting to come. Do you think that the networks, and you're probably in the best position to talk for all of them, do you think that the networks are seeing them as real opportunities to invest and deliver new content as opposed to burning off a show that we've just...
Absolutely. Look, in the beginning, the networks didn't know what they were going to get out of multi-channeling, and it was something we had to do to bring digital along. And there was talk about, do we launch our multi-channels just as time shifters, as simulcasters, all these sorts of things. And if it was about saving money, we could have easily gone down that route. And one came out with a heavy investment in as a sports channel, and that sort of set the pace for everybody else. So no one launched as a time shifted copy of their main channel. Some of the things were repeats and we've put them on there, and other things are, to build a bit of a cult following. Things that had been on their main channel that didn't get a massive following could move across to find their feet on the multi-channel. So no, I think that the networks will continue to invest and invest heavily in the multi-channels. I mean, we saw at Christmas for the first time in ratings, just our multi-channels alone outranked the viewing on all the paid channels combined. So we know the success of them. Advertisers are coming into these channels for their demographics and for their targeting. So there's money being put into them. So we'll see them as great channels, and we'll see great content coming across them. And there may be a time where the main channels and the multi-channels just become so blurred. Fast forward a few years' time.
Yes.
At the moment, we still have a masthead primary hero channel, but that will change over time, and the channels are the channels by the network.
And the switch off will help that.
And the switch off will help that, yeah.
To overcome that hurdle where, but I only watch the analogue stations because I don't have the set-top box
that's right. And at the moment, Australian content regulations only count on your main channel, and that will change over time.
Yep.
So, moving Neighbours to 11 means that doesn't count in Channel 10's Australian content.
MasterChef is more than making up for it.
Yeah. So, over time, when you can put your Australian content on any channel and it counts for things, things like that, once the regulations move, and and there's a convergence review with the government this year, which may change more of the regulations. So, all of that makes our world easier to deliver a great service to viewers in.
If the magical TV fairy could come to Freeview and say, we will grant you your one wish, what would that be? More
spectrum. We'd love more spectrum, have more channels. I mean, we would love more channels now because they've been so successful. But, only ABC have really been able to pull off the 4 channels on that space.
Yep.
And the others are stuck with 3. So, we'd love more spectrum. That's what we'd really want.
More, and that allows for more high def programming and
correct. That's
channels,
right. That's right.
As opposed to now where it's a little bit split. 7.3 is only high def.
That's right.
1, although they do have an analogue version of that as well. Those kinds of
things. And I mean, we've launched the EPG, the Freeview EPG, and that takes up some spectrum, and we've got a limited amount of that. If we had more spectrum, we'd be able to make that much more interactive and be able to do a lot more things as well. So everything about spectrum, ties our hands. Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the Great White Television Fairy will appear later this year and bless us with everything we need.
Absolutely.
Robin, thank you so much for your time.
Lovely to meet you, Steve. Thank you.